On Monday, came up about, he said it was about 22 degrees off of where it had the day before. When it came up, he says it normally comes up right now that, it's been coming up right behind this tree. And he pointed to a tree across the street, I guess from his house or something. And he said, and today it came up over here behind this tree. And there's a very bright star or planet or something that's in our skies right now. And I've noticed on some days, this thing will be like right now, it's kind of like south and, almost directly south instead of normally it would be like more over downtown.
Right.
Okay. And then when I went out and looked at the Big Dipper tonight. The Big Dipper, instead of being over my neighbor's house, which is where it would normally be this time of night, it's further this way. It's further to the left. More, completely hidden behind my those two big trees in my backyard back there, between my house and the neighbor's house.
You should chart where you're seeing it each night and kind of draw. It's like the earth is wobbling. The Bible talks about
the earth wobbling. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe it's starting that. I don't know. Yeah. Because I know it's just the last 2 days I saw the moon over the pass. I'm thinking, well, that's weird. Because I like to watch when it comes up, and we recently had a full one. But yeah, it's like, what's it doing over there? I thought, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not that observant, but yeah, it was kind of weird.
No, and as a matter of fact, the guy in the video that when he put up, he talked about the earth wobbling in the last days.
Oh yeah, it's the talks about
part of the prophecy. Yeah.
It said the earth will wobble to and fro. Yeah, it's definitely in the Bible, so it's possible that's starting up. Very strange.
Very weird. Very weird.
A lot of weird stuff going on.
Oh yes. All right. Well, I guess they're going to start putting 3-2-1s out here. So
yeah, I guess they're enjoying all the planetary talk or something.
Oh yeah. So anyway.
Well, it sounds like I'll be seeing you Friday. I'll be heading to town and see you and Ask Mama there. And
yeah. I have to clean the house. Thanks a lot.
No, you don't. You know what mine looks like. Come on. It literally looks like something like there was a frat party here. Actually, and I won't be able to have an appointment in Colville at 11:30, so I won't be leaving there till probably about Colville till about 12. So,
okay,
got an hour to get to your place, so it won't be till around 1. But
all right,
I'll ask Mama too. So
I'll be ready for y'all.
Okay.
We'll have macaroni salad.
Yeah, Legacy saying, kick Chris out. They're ready. They're raring to go. They want to blast off, and I'm holding up the works here. So I'll bail out of here and let you guys get on with your show. And I'll be tuning in off my little tablet. So have a great show.
You betcha. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Good to see everyone out there. Shelley, Tim, good evening. M&E, how you doing? All right. Well, I suppose good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for tonight's excursion out to 40,000 light years. I would like to remind everyone to get your seats, get your places, and make sure you store all of your belongings that you're bringing with you, either beneath the seat or in the overhead racks above you. Also, at the end of tonight's excursion, please make sure you take all of your possessions with you. on the last flight, somebody left a moon cheese sandwich, and we didn't know about it. And oh gosh, the smell was terrible. So please, at the end of tonight's excursion, make sure you take all your belongings with you. Thank you very much. And we'll be leaving momentarily. Buckle up, buttercups. Okay, we are there, and we are so glad that you're here with us. Thank you for joining Hyperdrive tonight. TMC will be in shortly. He normally works a little bit later on Wednesdays, so he'll be here when he gets here. And as far as Paul, we'll see how he's faring tonight. I know he had some things he had to deal with here the next few days, and so his attendance may be hit and miss for the next couple of shows. So we'll see. I do hope he is able to make it, but if not, that's fine too. So good evening, everyone. Want to thank everybody for also getting over, and if you've been over to my YouTube channel and checked out the last show, and in case you didn't get all of it or you just wanted to kind of catch it again, folks have been getting over there and watching the show on my YouTube channel. So thank you very much for that. That is Smoke Clear on YouTube. So you can get over there and keep up with the show in case you missed part of it or fell asleep or whatever the reason. So thank you very much for supporting my YouTube channel. And I'll try to be pretty good about getting the shows up there. Sometimes we have a problem with recording, and so it's not even useful to even put it up there. So anyway, tonight's show, we're gonna dive into more of the Nazis and what they've been up to, or what they're supposedly been up to, and so we're going to get into that. And, at some point here, I'm sure TMC will roll in and join us as well. So just say hello. Ricky, how you doing? Who let the bulls out? How's it going? Science denier. That luminary moon never seems to look the same now, does it? What's going on with the moon? Did you hear it's rusting? That was an article I saw the other day. The moon is rusting. And how does it rust? There's not supposed to be any atmosphere. Without any atmosphere, how do you get water to rust the moon? And that would imply that there's some iron up there. There's who knows what else is on the moon. Anyway, moon Nazis. Yes. Well, you just never know where those darn Nazis will show up, huh? Good evening, Legacy QAnon, Whiskey Peddler. How you doing? Light Switch. Judy Morris. Good evening. How are you? Good to see you. Edge the Womp. How you doing? Quentin Barnhart. Beverly Frazier. Good to see you. Deborah, always. Your beautiful blue wrench all shined up for tonight. And let's see. Who else is out there? Karen Milliken. Oildale Joe. Good evening. All right. So, well, let's dive into a couple of things here tonight. A couple of things that I've got kind of sitting by. Excuse me. There's some things going on down in California that are kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys have been following any of that, but. The fires down there are really. Some folks are coming up with some odd things that they've noticed using. Let's see here. Okay, let's minimize that here. Let's go here first. Let's talk about this. Excuse me while I rearrange my screens here just a little bit. Okay. Now, I thought this was kind of interesting, especially when we're talking about the California fires and some of the claims that some folks are making, including the weird weather that we had here in Washington State the other day on Labor Day. Just a lot of people were mentioning about weird weather patterns and things like that. And that's not the first time that we've had some odd and unusual weather patterns. Now, this is from the U.S. military system, so I have a feeling that we're probably just gonna put this on. We're gonna play it all the way through here. So take a look at here's the new laser cannon on a U.S. Navy destroyer that makes all enemies panic. Here we go.
There's no outrunning 5G, and it's rolling out as we speak. Instead of trying to beat it,
the U.S. Navy apparently has installed a new laser cannon on one of its destroyers. The installation could represent a big step forward for the U.S. fleet as it scrambles to deploy defenses against Chinese and Russian anti-ship missiles. U.S. Navy apparently has installed a new laser cannon on one of its destroyers. The installation could represent a big step forward for the U.S. fleet as it scrambles to deploy defenses against Chinese and Russian anti-ship missiles. A source provided to Tyler Rogoway, editor of The War Zone, a photo of the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Dewey at the naval base in San Diego. In the photo, Dewey appears to sport a new laser weapon on its forward deck. The Navy is developing several directed energy weapons for shipboard use. It's unclear exactly which laser the destroyer carries. Rogoway engaged in some educated guesswork. By our analysis, the most likely answer to what we are seeing on Dewey is the optical dazzling interdictor Navy system, which was set to be installed on a Navy destroyer by the end of this year. Optical dazzling interdictor Navy system is a lower power laser system that will be used to blind enemy electro-optical and infrared sensor systems by shining a modulated dazzler laser beam at them in a similar manner as to how directed infrared countermeasure systems work to defend aircraft from heat-seeking missiles. Optical dazzling interdictor Navy system will be capable of countering ship and boat-based systems, those used by aircraft and drones, and even those used by anti-ship cruise and ballistic missiles.
I think that the spiritual trip at this moment is not necessarily a cave in the Himalayas, but it's in relation to the technology that's existing. It's relation to where we're at. I think that's all part of one package now.
You know who you are. You dress like somebody. Your face looks like somebody. Everything is somebody. We enter in these conspiracies. I'll make believe you are who you think you are. If you make believe I am who I think I am.
Optical dazzling interdictor Navy system could complement the existing active and passive self-defense suites on the Navy's major warships. Current defenses include SM-6, SM-3, SM-2, Evolved Sea Sparrow and Rolling Airframe missile surface-to-air missiles, Phalanx radar-guided guns, Nulka decoys and the SLQ-32 and SLQ-59 radar jammers. Many of the passive defenses are designed to disrupt an anti-ship missile's radar guidance. But more and more Chinese and Russian missiles also feature infrared guidance against which the radar countermeasures are useless. Optical dazzling interdictor Navy system could blind these missiles, sending them off course or into the sea as they make their kamikaze attack runs, Rogoway noted. Dewey's laser is one of two new directed energy weapons to make a dramatic public appearance in recent weeks. The U.S. Navy in mid-October 2019 began shipping a powerful new laser weapon from a Northrop Grumman facility in Redondo Beach, California to the Navy base in San Diego. War Zone was the first to report on the painstaking process of moving the bulky weapon. In San Diego, workers plan to install the 150 kilowatt laser on the amphibious assault ship USS Portland. The vessel's crew could test the new weapon beginning in late 2019. Northrop built the laser under the auspices of the Navy's $53 million Solid-State Laser Technology Maturation Program, which launched in 2015. As a shipboard weapon, a laser could hold several advantages over traditional weapons such as guns or missiles. For one, a laser does not need...
We interrupt this video for a new cue. A new cue has dropped. Goodness sakes. What do we got? Okay, let's see. We have... well, actually, a couple of them dropped today that I didn't know about. We have the freedom flag. That's what I get for mowing my lawn today, huh? And oh gosh, there was a whole bunch of them that dropped today. I didn't even realize that we had a whole bunch of new cues today. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Okay, that's okay. So we're going to do new cues. Okay. So let me readjust the screen here a little bit. I had no idea we had new cues today. Good evening, Baby Rock. How you doing? All right. So the first one that came in this today at 15:29:25. No wonder I was out mowing the lawn. Let's see what it says here. Happy holidays. Yeah, going back to what was happening here on Monday. Fires breaking out all over the place, as my second cousin also lost his home here in one of the small town here in Washington State that was decimated by the fires. And the fact that these fires appeared to have been the ones, several of the ones here in Washington were set by evil people. The newest one that just came in, 4644, came in at 23:20, so just a few minutes ago. And we have a Twitter post here. And let's go check that out and see what we got there. Oregon is on fire. Pallet company in Oregon City confirmed Antifa arsonist on camera. Douglas County Sheriff has 6 Antifa arsonists in custody. Many fires in Oregon. Obviously, there are more to track down and arrest. Governor Kate Brown built this. It's on your back there, Katie Brown. It's on your back. Wow. That's good news that they've got one of these bastards on video, because, I had a second cousin who lost his home. Very, very nasty, nasty stuff here. People setting these fires. And all they got to do is, I know that they've been setting these fires because I've watched it over the years. They've been setting these fires. It doesn't surprise me at all. And I've actually talked about it here. The news will talk about, there's going to be high winds tomorrow and forecast, blah, 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 blah. The chance of, having fires. Everybody be very, very careful. You know, there might be fires, blah, blah, blah. And what do you know? We get a windy day this time of the year. Some idiot is out there setting these fires. And then this next tweet here, or it's a tweet. Joint team effort. Washington State Patrol, Fife PD, and Puyallup PD just arrested a 36-year-old Puyallup resident. He was caught in the median on SR State Route 167 at Meridian, setting a fire. He is currently on his way to jail. Great job, everybody. Nice. There's the a scene there, and that is absolutely, way to go, fellas. Highly coordinated, funded domestic terrorism. Feds involved. U.S. rights. And then a C in brackets there, _ surveillance. D, controlled areas. Media blackout. Election gaming. Tim M. said almost got burned out yesterday. Okay, I'm looking at some of you. Very suspicious in Southern Oregon. Yes, so horrible. Midnight Riders, stay safe. I've heard, yeah. Very, very interesting. And then let's see. Let's go. So, and that's signed Q. So, thank you for that, Q. That's awesome. The fact that one of my second cousin lost his home. In the small town here in Washington State that pretty much was completely burned out, except for a few homes, I believe. This is absolutely unexcusable. Yeah, it's arson. Diana Meyer, I don't think so, because he has, that is a, I believe, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that arson is definitely not one of those crimes that they can just write him a big check and hit the revolving door on your way out. Lessa Bible says, thank you, Q, for the update. Tell POTUS no forced vaccines. You want the link to the Q posts? They're Q posts. The links are already here. Or do you want the link to, let's see, I can copy the Twitter links here in the Q posts. I just realized that I need to fix that share. I'm giving you the whole screen instead of just the Q post there. There you go. And then this link here. Going concern. My mother-in-law used to live there in. I think it's the name of the town is is it Malden? I think it's Malden is the name of the little town. So, yeah, here in Washington State, where my second cousin used to have his home. And then Walt also had a friend of his that lost his home the other day as well. And then let's go back here and we'll pick up these other Q posts here now that we've got the first one done. Okay, it says here, what happens when California is in serious debt and lost priority aid from the Fed government due to sanctuary status? Illegal? What happens when California is in serious debt and all attempts to obtain a bailout from Pelosi inserted and pushed C-19 aid packages have failed? What happens when California is in serious debt and decides to implement resident overreach by extending statewide shutdowns, incurring massive economic further pitfall? So, you know, they're pushing it hard. Average number of fires in California per year last 20 June through December. How many? What's the average number of fires that they've had from June through December in the last 20 years? Average number of fires 2018, 2019, and 2020, June through December. Make the comparison. Walt hasn't updated me on to whether or not the individual who they had not located yet. He hasn't updated me on that. Outside of standard deviation, stated causes of fires, heat, average temperature of California per year, last 20, June through December. Outside of standard deviation, power lines being the source, that's a question. Are the power lines really the source? What changed? What California programs, RE, fire prevention, forest, and brush, have been severely cut? Well, they've been cutting all kinds of programs down there. What other cuts have impacted fire prevention and safety? And there's a link here. Let's go check it out. And that link is taking a little while to load. Oh, you get a 404 requested page could not be found. California Professional Firefighters about CPF. Okay. Wonder if we can get that a little bit bigger here. There we go. CPF News, CPF Firewire, surviving COVID-19, standing against injustice with communities we serve. Watch CPF off online town hall for firefighters and families. Wildfire response will remain a priority in the state budget revision. That's response. But what about working with the forestry and those folks? Are they cutting those services? Cutting back the brush and undergrowth that is around maybe these power lines and things like that. Have they not been maintaining their infrastructure in California the way they should have been? I.e., the electrical services and grid upkeep and maintenance and modernization. They've also been doing like they've been doing here in Washington State. They've been cutting out lands, not allowing people to go out on them, taking roads out that would allow firefighters to get in and react to some of these fires. And as a result, the fires are getting a better start before they're actually able to get anybody on them. BLM stopped in my town to get gas, 2 carloads, met by sheriff. He escorted them out of town to the next town where they were met by yet another sheriff who escorted them out of his town. Yeah, they just move along. Nothing for you here. So anyway, I'm not sure that's the, we got a 404 when this was the page that the Q link sent us to. So let's go back to the Q post. How do you obtain federal money? Declare a state of emergency and request billions in assistance? Welcome to California. Signed, Q. Well, we've Q's brought this up before. The fact of California all of a sudden having all of these major emergencies and things like that, so that they can declare a state of emergency. They get billions of dollars, and they use it in the state budget instead of actually doing anything for the emergency itself. Aid to people who have been displaced or hurt by one of these constructed or manipulated disasters. All right. Next came in 4640. That came in at 1549 this afternoon. General Mattis, Kelly, and McMaster hold town hall with Anderson Cooper in September. And that's in reference to a Q post that came out 5 June 2020. And there's a Twitter here. Full MSDNC Blitzkrieg, known and ready. October surprise being prepped and warmed. Now, who's October surprise? Is it a surprise for them, or is it a surprise for us? Well, obviously, it's not so much a surprise for us because Q's, there's always an October surprise. Always happens. Okay. So it goes interesting change of events. Weekly, in brackets, false attacks plus whistleblowers. False. I saw a thing today. These attacks, these Antifa, BLM attacks on the cities and all this other stuff. And then now we have arsonists running around starting fires on the West Coast, which has been something they've been doing for a long time, not just this year. And then whistleblowers. Yeah, I saw where Mr. Shiffy Schiff supposedly has a new whistleblower. I mean, the last one didn't teach him a lesson. I mean, these people are stupid. First Vitamin coordinated as whistleblower, false narrative, insert Ukraine, Biden, deflect, returning to the news, legal. Adam Schiff, backroom prep, second whistleblower. Adam Schiff, backroom prep, third whistleblower. National security. Pentagon. Let's see. SR 1 through 4. SR 1 through 4. I'm not. That's not. SR 1 through 4. Anybody got anything on that? Not when I seen Trump supports on Portland or ABC channel. Laser warfare. Awesome, amazing. Patriots are the best in chat in the world. Yes, absolutely, Elaine. I agree. Situation room. Okay, situation room. Okay. Backroom prep, dry run, campaign refusal. Okay. Yeah, he had to cancel a couple of his campaign events because the local was it the governor? Yeah, the governor came in and said, we're revising everything, and you can only have like 50 people. or whatever it was. I saw the headline. I read the headline. I didn't read the whole story, but I saw the headline and the stack stuff today. USD, and then in parentheses I. So U.S. Department of Defense Intelligence Agency, or Joint Chiefs of Staff, to, in brackets there, refusal to concede narrative, challenge legally battleground for, ballot harvest for, illegally, California won, everything at stake, win by any means, plan accordingly in November, in brackets there. Q. All right. And then 4641 is came in at 4:01:53 my time. That would be Pacific Coast time. The swamp runs deep. Sometimes you cannot tell people the truth. You must show them. Only then, at the precipice, will the people find the will to change, to participate. We, the people, have been betrayed for a very long time. Will you stand for God and country, for freedom, for humanity? Where we go one, we go all. Q. All right. And then Q wasn't done yet. So Q said, posted this link here, or this post 4642. I notice TMC has joined us here. Good evening.
Hi.
Was it you that left the moon cheese sandwich after the last flight? We were cleaning the TR-3B this morning, and it was starting to get really stinky.
We could call the cheese food if you'd like.
Well,
considering it being stinky.
Yeah. Well, I had to announce to everybody that when they leave the aircraft after tonight's excursion, please make sure you take all your belongings with you, including your moon cheese sandwiches and things like that. I don't know that it was you. I'm just asking.
I would add that off-gassing is normal, and that's just fine. Carry on.
Okay. I didn't even know that we had Q posts today. So I'm sitting there. I started to show a video, and then somebody said, new Q. So we did get a new Q. And we'll get back to that. We were just reviewing all the ones that came in today, though.
Good.
Were you aware that Q had posted today?
Yes, but I missed the last one while in transit here to be with you.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get back to it. We got this one and one more, then the final one. So we've got the freedom flag here. It says, "Hello, sir. USA, USA, USA. Where we go one, we go all. The strongest weapon in the United States is a patriotic American." I would have to absolutely 100% agree with that. Don't piss us off. They'll make you eat it. 4643 was the next post, came in at 5:06 Pacific Coast time. It says, "Hello, Carly. Thank you, and God bless. Keep charging. Midnight Rider." Oh, yeah. Midnight Rider. That's a cool song, too.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. I actually downloaded it the other day after the Q post the other day. Because, let's see, where it was, they actually posted it as a Q post, right?
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
I don't know if it was titled that, but yeah, it had it in there. It was the first, was when they were talking about trying to take down, defame you right there, left, top. Right there, left top. But it's actually the bottom of the left top. Modern day Midnight Rider. There's a reason why they're fighting hard to censor you.
Okay.
Max Richter on the nature of daylight.
Oh, this is that song that just has the video of the thing.
The thing?
Yeah, the thing. Thing. It was a, anyway.
So it's the thing.
Of the thing. The thing. The thing. Yeah. All right. Carly, I did catch her presser today, and again, she kicks ass. She does. She really does. Okay.
Carly's a presser.
She's the she's the press secretary.
Oh, you're thinking of Kaylee.
Oh, Kaylee. No. Okay. Okay. Who's
Carly B is Twitter. Like, I know her on Twitter. She's more than Twitter. Obviously, I don't want to just disrespect her, but I mean, she's got like 180,000 plus followers. I think that's who they're talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Kaylee. Yeah. Kaylee's.
Okay. I get Carly and Kaylee. Okay. I'm not the Twitter follower, and I'm not the name dropper. So,
right.
Unless they really impress me, I'm not, and I don't follow anybody really on Twitter at all.
Well, Kaylee impresses me.
Yeah, Kaylee is. She's just witty and well prepared, and she exudes the right amount of passion when it's appropriate. And I think she does a really good job balancing the emphasis on the passion from the administration versus her own. And you can almost tell when they align, because it's almost like she just resonates that much better. Anyway. Oh, yeah. She's really good at what she does. Yeah. Really good at it. Carly Bonet used to be a show host here with Rise and Shiners crew and Grayanon. Really? Interesting. And Danusia.
Carly used to be on PSB as a show host with Gray and Percy.
That's what
Gray and Rise and Shiners was.
Yeah, the Rise and Shiners crew. Grayanon, and that would be Percy. New York Crackling Conservative, never lose your sense of humor. Periscope, Monday through Friday.
Dang. Well, just be ready for the channel to drop. That's awesome. Well, I don't mean drop in a good way. I mean, like, just.
Who is on board of Netflix? They aren't even trying to hide it anymore. Yeah. CNN's Chris Cuomo rehearsed interview with Cohen ahead of 2018 TV appearance. Leaked audio shows you are watching a movie.
Minxie Valkyrie clarified it for me. Thank you for the clarification. Not a host, but a weekly guest on Wednesdays. That's very good. Thank you.
Very cool. Well, Carly.
She's from Jersey.
From Jersey.
He's from Jersey.
Very cool. Every answer in the world is in Kaylee's book. LOL, says Americana Patreona. All right. So anyway, then we've got this. This is the one that just came in right at the top of the show tonight. And this is really cool.
Creepy?
Not cool. To me, it's cool because Oregon is on fire. Pallet company in Oregon City confirmed Antifa arsonist on camera. Douglas County Sheriff has 6 Antifa arsonists in custody. Many fires in Oregon. Obviously, there are more to track down and arrest. Governor Kate Brown built this. Okay, so Kate Brown is, being held accountable for these arsonists that are running around setting these fires. And
governors of the state, right? That's like a state. That's the head of the state.
The governor, yeah.
Right. So she's got Portland culpability too, then.
Oh yeah. She's up to her eyeballs in this stuff. Bad lady. So we've got that one there, and then let's see. There was this other one here. Let's see. I was trying to see if I have it.
Did you see how few retweets that post had?
Let's see. 495.
Okay. It's still climbing, but considering it's climbing. Never mind. It's starting to climb.
Well, it just came out. This post just came out. And then Trooper Ryan Burke, official Washington State Patrol District 1, Public Information Officer for Pierce and Thurston counties. And he says, joint team effort, Washington State Patrol, Fife PD, and Puyallup PD just arrested a 36-year-old Puyallup resident. He was caught in the median on State Route 167 at Meridian, setting a fire. He is currently on his way to jail. Great job, everybody. So they've got these guys, and Walt told me when he was giving me an update on his friend who lost his home to the fires on Monday. And then my second cousin lost his home on Monday in Malden, Washington. So that hit close to my family as well. And I'm sure many others, but my cousin's son lost his home in the fire in Malden. And if they've got to catch these people. They're just this has gone too far. Somebody's going to die in one of these things. If nobody has yet, we're damn lucky.
I was going to say with all the fires right now, people are dead for sure. There's no way there's this much fire and nobody died. There's just no way.
Mm-hmm.
Just my opinion.
A second here. Danusha just gave me a link to something here. SRS Labs SR124 Operation Manual Analog Lock-In Amplifier.
What?
What's this about? Will
you send this to me, Danusha? Please.
Stanford Research Systems product is warranted against defects of blah, blah, blah. What do we got going here? Let's see, table of contents. A bunch of blank pages. Okay, the SR124 analog lock-in amplifier operates from 100 volts to 120 volts, 220 volts or 240 volts, nominal AC power having a line frequency of 50 or 60 hertz before connecting the power cord, blah, 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 blah. The SR124 analog lock-in amplifier will be named blah, blah. Line cord service, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what else do we have here? More stuff. What in the world are we looking at here?
2 hertz to 210.
Perform auto phase adjustment by pressing millimeter should move near zero deflection. Okay. SR124 was in a Q post, she says.
Really? Pentagon SR 1 through 4. Is that where you're getting at there? SR 1 through 4? 1-4?
That's the only place I see, unless there's someplace else where it popped up, but interesting. She's typing right now. Okay. So anyway, yeah, we've got those two. The Oregon deal going down. She says, "Sorry, I was cooking and heard 1, 2, 4." Okay. What's for dinner? Anyway, you caught TMC's attention.
Yeah, those are. Yeah. Analog to digital conversions are of something of interest to me. So those are what's used to convert ambient signals into a digital format that can then be transmitted over the internet. And the ambient signal can be anything, acoustics or analog. So are any of the waves that they can extract from us. Any of the electrical information, all of those things are considered analog. So they have analog to digital converters that are right next to the sensors that are able to basically digitize the information, and then they rapidly sample the analog signal, and then they convert those samples into digital information very, very early on in the collection process. And that allows that information to then, they can do whatever they want with it at that point. They can process it however they want. So analog to digital stuff is of interest to me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it got me excited.
Okay. Did she send you the link, or should I?
Let me see if I have Discord. Yeah, it's open. And yes, she did.
Okay.
Thank you.
A happy mistake.
All right. There are no coincidences, as they say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. This is the video that I was showing before the Q post came in, and it's on lasers that are aboard our Navy ships. So let's pick it up where we left off here.
Ammunition. As long as the ship has power, the laser can continue firing. A laser also could strike targets faster than, say, a missile could do. But today's lasers lack the power and range to destroy large targets or do any damage at all at ranges farther than a few miles. SSLTM and a related effort at Lockheed Martin could result in lasers with the power and range to defend ships from drones, small boats, cruise missiles, and even ballistic missiles.
Just an update here. Sassy Q has posted here that a 1-year-old baby died in the Okanagan fire, and both his badly burned parents are in Harborview right now. Harborview is a hospital over in the Seattle area that is known to have one of the best burn centers in the Pacific Northwest. So our prayers go out to the family there, and so yeah, there has been a 1-year-old baby died because of these assholes. Time to take these buggers down. Yeah, time to take them down. This cannot be allowed to continue. All right, we'll keep the video going here.
Low-cost directed energy weapons have to be part of our future, Admiral William Moran, then Vice Chief of Naval Operations, said at an industry conference in 2016. If we have to continue to rely on projectiles, we will run out of the ability to defend ourselves.
In Idaho, we're fortunate to be surrounded by epic outdoor adventures. As our public lands reopen, we encourage you to recreate responsibly. While COVID-19 remains a threat,
the Navy intends SSLTM to be a learning experience, USNI News explained. The service selected Portland to host the weapon because the 25,000-ton displacement vessel possesses the space and spare electrical power effectively to host Northrop's tractor-trailer-size laser. Once installed on the ship, the Navy will learn much about laser weapons through SSLTM testing, USNI News reporter Megan Eckstein wrote. Around the same time the Navy tapped Northrop to build the SSLTM, the sailing branch also awarded Lockheed a $150 million contract to develop the high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance system, or Helios. The 60-kilowatt Helios draws less power than the SSLTM does. The Navy plans to begin installing the smaller laser cannon on destroyers starting in 2021. Optical dazzling interdictor Navy system functions as a proof of concept for the more powerful Helios laser. The Navy hopes to begin fielding a megawatt-class laser in the 2025 timeframe. A laser with that kind of power could destroy ballistic missiles but might require a very large host ship that also has ample electrical power. A nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, for instance.
All right. Well, what do you think of that?
Pretty awesome. The fact that they're disclosing it probably means that it's already done, dude.
You think?
Yeah.
Military technology keeps advancing at a
Crying out loud, these things.
It's those systems are going to be what is going to combat the hypersonic missiles, where they're talking about these supersonic or hypersonic missiles at this point they go 17 times faster than the speed of sound, kind of thing. I think that's what was advertised.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. It's gonna be these systems that travel at the speed of light that will be able to intercept those kinds of things. That's what I think.
Yeah, okay. And Menopon, who is a real good friend and a fellow patriot there, he says, two teenage boys not arrested yet, but caught setting Graham, Washington fire on a doorbell camera. Interesting. So, now, with all these cameras around, you can't scratch your ass without getting on camera somewhere. So, be careful where you scratch.
These people only knew just how sensitive the radar is out of your phone. If they only knew. I mean, you don't even need a camera. You don't even need a camera, man. They can make whatever, they can recreate whatever they need to recreate just by using the signals coming off of your phone. I mean, it's whatever.
Okay, and now let's get into something else here. Now that we've kind of discussed technology and cameras and directed energy weapons, this particular video was Dutch. How does he pronounce that? Dutchnese? I don't know.
I'm not seeing it.
Hang on a second here. Let me get it up on screen.
I'm like hyperdrive. Oh, really?
Come on.
No, not you. It was when
Okay.
when you went full screen. I'm running Zoom on a different computer, and so the little nuances of it are I'm getting to experience them for the first time, or at least one of the first times. So
The little nuances of what?
yeah, well, I'm running on a new computer, a different computer, and when you went full screen, it closed all of my browser, or minimized all the browser windows. So I had to find the Zoom screen again. So
right.
it's just
There's Dutchnese. I've never been able to really figure out how they pronounce his name. And he includes down here. Last night they said they could not see the beam. This is a short 45-second long video. Thanks to animatronic, we now have an easy to see enhanced color view of the energy beam emitted from over Oregon, likely from a satellite in space, in my opinion. The beam going from Oregon into, and then it says show more, California last night, September 8, 2020, directly into a fire. Okay, now these red spots here are where some of the fires are. And as you watch the video here, they enhance it a little bit there. Okay, right there.
What, the red line?
Yeah.
Well, they just add the red line?
I don't know. But
man, I don't know. What does that even mean? Is the view that we're looking at an aerial satellite view, number one? Number two, if it was to look that perpendicular to the view that we have, how far away is the satellite in space from the satellite that's taking the picture in order for us to get that much of an angle to be able to pick up that kind of a line? You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
I mean, anyway,
Well,
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm skeptical that that's not an altered video. That's all.
well, there's this one then too. There's another video here, and it's not of somebody's feet.
Wait a minute. Definitely directed energy.
Yeah.
Silicone hammer toe corrector will moves your toe back to the natural position.
No.
Also help keep.
Okay, watch this one. Okay, see it?
That line right there?
There was a line right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, he's replaying it again, so. This would imply that it's coming from a ship or something, or an aircraft from out at sea.
Now that makes more sense with it being a lateral view like that, where you're seeing like the beam itself.
Mm-hmm.
And why wouldn't the Navy be dealing with that? Unless it's from like a submarine or something. Even so, why wouldn't the Navy be dealing with that?
Well, if okay, let's just do a little critical thinking here. All right, the video that we just watched on the new laser system.
Yeah.
Directed energy.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if the bad guys are going to roll out stuff like this, and if we're going to call them on it, then basically that technology has to be divulged, right?
Yes.
All right. So the Navy comes out and says, "Oh, well, gee, you know,
look what
we have one of these. It's capable." And you know, so it could be a form of disclosure.
I can accept your line of thinking on that. That's very astute.
So, if it's a form of disclosure, then, they're showing how they're using these advanced weapons to
create the perception of natural disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now this one here, this is kind of unusual. This is something that came to my attention as well this afternoon as I was, just going through some different things. And come on, here we go. So this is a massive explosion rocks the Oroville Dam area. Now, you remember the Oroville Dam, right?
I lived there for a number of months before Paradise burned down.
Hi, guys. This is Daniel Alexander.
Say again?
Yeah, I lived right next to that dam for a number of months, and then moved to Paradise for a number of months before Paradise burned down last year, or 2018? Yeah, I'm very familiar with that area.
Okay. Well, here we have this. This just happened here in the last 24 hours, I believe.
Hi, guys. This is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority. This morning, early in the morning hours before daylight, there was an explosion near the Oroville Dam. The area up behind Oroville Dam, a huge area, it's got to be approaching 100,000 acres, has burnt in the last 24 hours. You can see that explosion right there. Massive explosion that sent smoke so far up that the satellites are picking it up as clouds. You see nothing here is showing up like that. Just a few little puffs coming off a few things, right? And that's this evening. I watched this morning again. Watch how it ejects. Here it comes. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's like a bomb went off or an explosion.
The interesting thing is, okay, stop it and go back here. Okay. If you watch it, let's see if I can step it forward here. Okay, yeah, we can step it forward. So you see, and I don't know if that's a moisture or heat, or some type of whatever radar they're using there to get that view. But that's a satellite view, so that's coming from space. So whatever sensor they're using there. But you see the white stuff. Okay, it jumped too far there, so I'm gonna have to move it slowly. But you see it. You see, okay, a real bright spot here, and then you see this this little area right next to it here. And then it gets just real intense, real fast. And that massive cloud heads south. And then you see some more of these fires. And obviously there's an offshore wind going on there.
You know what else came to mind?
What's that?
What kind of other stuff could they just throw into the atmosphere with all this smoke in the air? Or you see what I'm getting at? Or they would they would literally use the smoke as a proverbial smoke screen to go ahead and introduce other components into the atmosphere.
Are you talking pathogens or something like that?
Something, right. Anything. I don't know what it would be, but I mean, if the whole state, or the West Coast for that matter, is saturated with aerial particuli, what better time to disperse something aerial? Mm-hmm. And everyone's going to breathe it. Anyway, that's just when I stare into the sick, disgusting abyss, that's the kind of stuff I think about.
Well, they could. They very well could. Pandemic Part 2.
Something.
No, which they have talked about.
For that matter, you're going to find this stuff is going to be present in the water supply. It's going to be present in all of the food that's going to be produced from California. And California produces all kinds of food for the country and the world. Mm-hmm. And so all of this stuff that's floating around in the air, there will be residual effects for months, if not a year or more after this is done, because this is a sustained aerial dispersion of particulate matter. I mean, it's sustained. So it's going to go and go and go and go and go. Anyway, that's just how my mind works.
Well, you look at how he's showing these fires as they're being distributed around. And, different fires.
Gotta hit cancel. Yeah.
All right. So, California is definitely, they're in a bad way. They need money. They're broke. And it's a
perfect way to disperse cancer. That's all I'm saying.
Cancer.
That'd be like, if I had to guess one off the top of off the cuff, it'd be carcinogens that are aggressive carcinogens that would cause cancer. That's what I would guess.
Well, they better have that cancer cure ready.
Yeah.
The President Trump talked about.
Can you imagine that? Just large amounts of the population when this is done, 6 months later, coming up with like some weird crazy disease or a bunch of pockets of cancer somewhere, and then they just roll it. Oh, it was from the fires. We had plants burned, and stuff over here burned, and it was because of these other guys, and they didn't take care of it, and there was waste there, and that there's nothing we could do. It just happened. Sorry.
Yeah. Lori Armstrong, hey, good evening. Good to see you. Checking in to see you on here, Thumper. Glad you're okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Is it the 10th today?
Today is the 10th, yeah. Why? What's something significant about the 10th?
Yeah. It's okay, though. Let's just say it used to be a good day, and now it's a very sad day.
Okay. All right. Well, so anyway, lots of things going on. And so we're looking at all this stuff, and you just go, oh my gosh, what else is there? What other kind of stupidity do these people have in store, up their sleeves or whatever? But do you get the feeling that, maybe not just the American people, but do you think that maybe President Trump is getting just really, really, really tired of this crap?
I think it's expected. So yes and no. I think there is tension that is forming. And if it's tension that is known, it was known that it was going to happen, but it's one of those things where it's like, you just don't, it's going to happen. There's no reason to deal with it or worry about it until it does. You have your preparations made, and then you go through the order of operations and make the adjustments as necessary. But I think that period of time where the tensions, we're here now. I mean, we're 2 months away from the election, and I think after the election, it's proverbial go time. Mm-hmm. Like we're going to see something. If we don't see something, then I'm going to seriously rethink how I spend my time in all facets, because I'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, one of the documents that I've been, Danusha has provided to me here. Very interesting document. It goes along with where we've been going here recently, looking at the Nazis and what all they've been up to over the last several, God knows how long. And when you combine what's in this document here, along with some of the other stuff that we've been looking at as far as the Nazis and their weapons, and then that video that we showed on the last show, where they talked about the Vladimir Terziski.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you a link here so you have a link to this as well, and it's a downloadable PDF, and I'm showing it off a PDF here. It's in the Zoom chat there for you.
Okay.
And I'm going to put a link to it out here for you folks out there in the live chat as well. UFOs, are we alone in the universe? The Nazi UFO secret. Okay, let me put this up on share. Okay. The Nazi Party had a secret flying disc already off of the drawing board and flying, and it was capable of 1,200 miles per hour. A vertical takeoff, 90-degree changes in attitude, much like a helicopter, and of course was far superior to anything the Allied powers had at that time. Secondly, they also had another craft about to be up and going. It was capable of doing 2,500 miles per hour, which was double the original. Not only did it have the characteristics of the original craft, but it also had a laser weapon aboard it, which capable of penetrating 4 inches of armor. Needless to say, that really spooked the Allied forces into making a redemptive attempt against von Braun and bringing him into a state of capitulation. Bulgarian physicist Vladimir Terziski also wrote the following about these mystery craft. According to Renato Vesco, Germany was sharing a great deal of the advances in weaponry with their allies, the Italians, during the war. At the Fiat experimental facility at Lake Lagarda, a facility that fittingly bore the name of Air Marshal Hermann Goering, the Italians were experimenting with numerous advanced weapons, rockets, and airplanes created in Germany. In a similar fashion, the Germans kept a close contact with the Japanese military establishment and were supplying it with many advanced weapons. I have discovered, for example, a photo of a copy of the manned version of the V-1, the Reichenberg, produced in Japan by Mitsubishi, the best fighter in the world. The push-pull twin-propeller Dornier 335 was duplicated at the Kawashima Works. This appears to be the extent of information that can be verified to a degree. However, there is much more that fits within the known facts, but cannot be verified independently and therefore may well be fiction portrayed as fact. That said, much of the following information does flow with the themes explored further in the subsequent chapters of this book. Claims have also been made that Nazi occult societies were involved in the development of such unconventional saucer craft. One such, the Vril Society, was allegedly channeling messages from an alien civilization in the Aldebaran solar system and planned to develop a craft that could make physical contact with the civilization there. This may or may not be true, but there was certainly a high level of occult activity in mid-Europe at that time. And no doubt organizations did exist then with unconventional beliefs just as they do today. Whatever the truth of this, by 1934, the Vril Society had apparently developed its first UFO-shaped aircraft known as the Vril 1, which was propelled by an anti-gravity effect. This was the same year as Victor Schauberger discussed his flying disc ideas with Hitler. The society then allegedly went on to develop this craft, and later, and again allegedly, produced the RFC-2. This craft was apparently 16 feet long and fitted with an improved propulsion system and, for the first time, magnetic impulse steering. Interestingly, when in flight, it reportedly produced color effects normally associated with UFOs. Yet, the RFC-2 was largely ignored, with only the SS showing an interest in the Vril Society's work. An inner organization of the SS then set up its own SSE-4 department to develop new alternative technologies to ensure Germany no longer had to be dependent on external sources of energy, and it began to work on its own version of the RFC or Vril. By 1939, the SS had produced the RFC-5, which it called the Haunebu-1. In August of 1939, the machine made its maiden flight and proved its viability, being more than 65 feet in diameter and offering considerable storage space. You know, you can take your golf clubs with you when you go. By the end of 1940, the RFC-2 Haunebu-2 had entered service as a reconnaissance aircraft, and there is certainly photographic evidence to support this. For example, an RFC-2 was photographed near Antarctica in 1940. It should be noted that there is scant corroborative and historically verifiable information to support these claims. However, the design of the Haunebu-2 should be noted for future reference. Whatever their exact nature, it appears confirmed that a range of alternative design aircraft were by now either on the drawing board, hovering above the ground, or crashing into it. Some of these designs proved viable, and successes were being reported. On 17 April 1945, Meithe was able to advise Hitler that the V-7 had been tested in the skies above the Baltic. This particular craft was a supersonic helicopter fitted with 12 BMW turbo aggregate engines. During its first test, it reached an altitude of...
Sorry, that's ridiculous, man.
Well, I mean, look at the Spruce Goose and some of the other things, you know. An altitude of 78,000 feet and then 80,000 feet on its second test. Meath reported that the new craft could be powered by unconventional energy sources in principle. However, these new technologies were coming online too late, for the war was already being lost and won. Within months, the Allies and the Russians had poured into Central Europe. Hitler was dead and the war apparently over, or at least they thought Hitler was dead. And as soon as the war was over, ghost rockets started appearing over Scandinavia, and within 2 years, flying saucers were being reported wholesale over mainland United States. It was no coincidence. After the end of the war in 1945, Russian and American intelligence teams began a hunt to track down this perceived military and scientific booty of the advanced German technology. Following the discovery of particle/laser beam weaponry in German military bases, the U.S. War Department decided that the U.S. must not only control this technology, but also the scientists who had developed it to ensure that America takes full advantage of those significant developments which are deemed vital to our national security. It therefore launched a project to bring these personnel to the United States. Whilst initially publicized the nature, extent, and secrecy of the project, later termed Operation Paperclip, remained classified until 1973. The thinking behind Paperclip was exemplified in a letter Major General Hugh Knerr, Deputy Commanding General for Administration of U.S. Strategic Forces in Europe, wrote to Lieutenant General Carl Spaatz in March of 1945. Occupation of German scientific and industrial establishments has revealed the fact that we have been alarmingly backward in many fields of research. If we do not take this opportunity to seize apparatus and the brains that developed it and put this combination back to work promptly, we will remain several years behind while we attempt to cover a field already exploited. There was, however, one slight problem. It was illegal for the U.S. law, explicitly prohibited Nazi officials from immigrating to America, and as many as 3/4 of the scientists in question were allegedly committed to Nazis, or were committed Nazis. Indeed, at least 1,600 scientists and their dependents were and its successor projects. It could hardly avoid including Nazis. Do you want to pick up the read here while I go rescue a dog from the deck? He's out there whining. I don't know if you...
Yeah, read however President... Yeah.
Be right back.
Okay. However, President Truman decided that the national interest was paramount and that America needed the German scientists to work on America's behalf. In fairness to Truman, he expressly ordered that anyone found to have been a member of the Nazi Party and more than a nominal participant in its activities or an active supporter of Nazism or militarism must be excluded from the operation. Operation Paperclip was carried out by the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, JOIA, ironic, and had two aims. Firstly, to exploit German scientists for American research by rounding up Nazi scientists and taking them to America, and secondly, to deny these intellectual resources to the Soviet Union. The name Operation Paperclip derived from the fact that those individuals selected to go to the United States were distinguished by paperclips on their files, joining their scientific papers with regular immigration forms. The Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, JOIA, then conducted background investigations on the identified scientists, and in February 1947, the director of JOIA, Navy Captain Bosque Weave, submitted the first set of dossiers to the State and Justice Department for review. These dossiers, though, proved to be damning, with Samuel Klaus, the State Department's representative on the JOIA board claiming that all the scientists in the first batch were ardent Nazis. The visa requests were consequently denied. We already knew those proposed had Nazi backgrounds. This in a memo dated 27th April 1948 to the Pentagon's Director of the Scroll, sir. Director of the Scroll. Where are we at? We are at Director, Pentagon's Director of Intelligence. So, 27 April 1948 to the Pentagon's Director of Intelligence. He wrote, security investigations conducted by the military have disclosed the fact that the majority of German scientists were members of either the Nazi Party or one or more of its affiliates. Weave was furious, and he fired off a memo to the State Department in March 1948 warning that, quote, the best interests of the United States have been subjugated to the efforts expended in the beating the dead Nazi horse. Okay. The following month, 27th April 1948, Weave again wrote to his superiors concerned about the delays in approving the German scientists. He stated, in light of the situation existing in Europe today, it was conceivable that the continued delay in opposition to the immigration of these scientists could result in their eventually falling into the hands of the Russians, who would then gain the valuable information and ability possessed by these men. Such an eventuality could have been most serious and adverse effects on national security of the United States. By this time, the Nazi intelligence leader, Reinhard Gehlen, had met with the future CIA director, 26th February 1953 through 29th November 1961, Alan Dulles. Interesting. And they hit it off. Gehlen was a master spy for the Nazis, and he infiltrated Russia with his vast intelligence network. In 1942, the future CIA director Dulles had moved to Bern, Switzerland, as head of Office of Strategic Services to negotiate with some Nazi leaders who were already convinced they were going to lose World War II and wanted to deal with the U.S. about a possible future war with the USSR. What an excellent way to spread an ideology. So crazy.
Well, we know Dulles was a creep. What's that?
I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of it this way, right? So you've got like Rothschild level people, or people maybe even higher than that, with this whole like subculture, subterfuge, advanced this, that, and the other in all facets, right? Science, literature, art, just their own world. And so they fashion a war, and then they fashion another war, and then they concentrate ideology with technology, knowing that that the technology would be valuable and that the ideology is necessary to propagate or perpetuate what it is they're trying to achieve, which is complete and total global domination. So what do? Concentrate all your technology, you give it to one guy, you radicalize that guy and the group that he's basically the head of. And then you destroy that guy, knowing full well that the architecture that he was in command of would then be dismantled and propagated throughout the world, therefore functioning as an ideologue virus, a virus of ideas, to then perpetuate throughout and create a subculture that is a mask by which these ideas then perpetuate underground that can then infiltrate through borders because of the need for the technology and the value of the technology. That's pretty damn sophisticated, dude.
Yeah. There's let's see, where was it here? Mustang Mary. Is it Mustang Mary? Yeah, Mustang Mary. She says, son listening to police scanners, roadblocks on I-5 south of Roseburg on top of Roberts Mountain. Dang, the county and state kicking butt tonight. Interesting. So do you think they're, sounds like they're got an all-out
firestorm, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going down right now, man. I mean, we're watching We're watching, what do you call it? Unconventional warfare happening in slow motion before our eyes, whereby it's not guns and bombs, it's the utilization of nature and physics and economics and psychological operations.
Mustang Mary says, "Dang, they caught him on I-5. Good job, boys." Sounds.
Oh,
like
they're
caught some.
They're getting somebody. Got it.
Creeps on I-5. Yeah. All right, back to the read here. You want to?
Yeah, Dulles. You want to go, or you want me to keep going?
I'll pick it up here a little bit.
Dulles was not above.
Okay, Dulles was not above pursuing his own agenda with the Nazis, for he had worked with many of them before the war as a prominent New York lawyer. He creep. 1926, 1942, and again from 1946 to 1950, when Galen surrendered to the U.S. He was taken to Fort Hunt, Virginia, where he and the U.S. Army reached an agreement. His intelligence unit would work for and be funded by the U.S. until a new German government came into power. In the meantime, should he find a conflict between the interests of Germany and the U.S., he could consider German interests first. Well, who makes that kind of a freaking deal? Are you kidding me? For almost 10 years, the Galen Org, as it became to be known, operated safely within the CIA and was virtually the CIA's only source of intelligence on Eastern Europe. Then, in 1955, it evolved into the BND, the German equivalent of the CIA, and continued to cooperate with its U.S. counterparts. The scientists' immigration problem was then sidestepped, with the dossiers being cleansed of incriminating evidence, and as promised, Alan Dulles delivered Galen Org, the Nazi intelligence unit, to the CIA, which later opened many umbrella projects based on earlier Nazi research. Operation Paperclip also had a part to play in events at Murray Island. Washington State itself was the location of several aerospace defense contractors, which were benefiting from the then secret Paperclip operation. It was also the location of sightings in 1947 of a number of aircraft that looked suspiciously like some that had been seen on Nazi drawing boards in the skies above Europe towards the end of the war. The officers who attended the Murray Island incident, Davidson and Brown, belonged to G2. It was G2's responsibility to ensure Operation Paperclip was kept as covert as a covert activity and provide the necessary security to achieve this. Another function of G2 was the surveillance of anyone whose activities put Paperclip security at risk. That they were on their way to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base with objects Chrisman had given them was entirely logical. Wright-Patterson, then Wright Field, was the major research and development center where many of the Nazi scientists had been taken to continue their work. One of the most prominent of the Paperclip physicians was Herbertus Strughold, later known as the father of space medicine, and after whom the Aeromedical Laboratory at the U.S. Air Force School of Aerospace Medicine was named in 1977. His April 1947 intelligence report stated his successful career under Hitler would seem to indicate that he must be in full accord with Hitler. However, he was admitted under Operation Paperclip on the grounds that he was not an ardent Nazi. Other Nazis included Klaus Barbie, the so-called Butcher of Lyon, Otto von Bolschwing, infamous for his Holocaust activities, and the SS Colonel Otto Skorzeny. However, the cleansing of the files did not always stand up to the scrutiny of time. In 1984, Arthur Rudolph, who in 1969 had been awarded NASA's Distinguished Service Award, left the country rather than face charges as a Nazi war criminal. Another former alleged Nazi was Werner von Braun. Born on 23 March 1912, von Braun became one of the world's first and foremost rocket engineers and a leading authority on space travel. Born the son of Prussian aristocrats Baron Magnus and Baroness Emmy von Braun, the young Werner read Hermann Oberth's By Rocket into Planetary Space. And There's the German name. And his new interest led him to later enroll at the Berlin Institute of Technology in 1930. In 1932, he received his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and he was then offered a grant to conduct and develop scientific investigations on liquid-fueled rocket engines. Von Braun's rocket experiments were tested at the Kummersdorf Proving Grounds, 60 miles south of Berlin, between 1932 and 1937. Kummersdorf was the launch site of two German V-2 rockets in 1934. After their launch, Braun started work on a jet-assisted takeoff vehicle for heavy bombers and all rocket fighters. However, Kummersdorf was too small for this task, and so von Braun relocated to Peenemünde on the Baltic coast, where he became director from 1937 to 1945. This site was then equipped with laboratories and industrial facilities to facilitate the development, production, and testing of the German V-1, Vengeance Weapon 1, and V-2, Vengeance Weapon 2, rockets. It was this V-2 rocket that inflicted such heavy damage on England during the war. Von Braun was not a reluctant Nazi, indeed. He joined the National Socialist Aviation Corps, getting his pilot's license in 1933. The DAF trade organization, a hunting organization associated with the Nazis, the Air Raid Protection Investigation, and the SS Horseback Riding School. Von Braun's own admissions in the U.S. Army records further show that he was a former SS major who frequently visited the underground rocket factory where 25,000 prisoners from the concentration camp Dora had died. According to former executive producer of CNN's investigative unit, Linda Hunt, von Braun attended a meeting that discussed rounding up of citizens off the streets of France to be taken to Dora. As the war entered its dying throes in 1945, von Braun ordered two men to find an abandoned mine in the Harz Mountains to hide data about the V-2s. Several large boxes were then placed in a discovered cave, and von Braun sent his younger brother Magnus off on a bicycle he had borrowed from a local innkeeper to look for allies to whom they could surrender. Von Braun and his scientific staff duly surrendered to the U.S. Army, whilst most of the production engineers were taken prisoner by the Soviets. After entering America as part of Project Paperclip on a pay of $6 a day plus lodging in a military installation, Braun worked on guided missiles for the U.S. Army. He returned to Bavaria in 1948 to marry his second cousin, and he later served as a technical director for later chief of the Guided Missile Development Division of Redstone Arsenal from 1950 to 1956. Whilst living in Huntsville, Alabama, von Braun was later appointed Director of Development Operations Division of the Army Missile Agency, which developed the Jupiter C rocket that was to successfully launch the Western Hemisphere's first satellite, Explorer 1, on 31st January 1958. Auguring the birth of the American space program. 2 years later, von Braun and his team were transferred to NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, where he served as director from July 1960 to February 1970. During the 1950s and 60s, he achieved an almost celebrity status as one of Walt Disney's experts on the world of tomorrow. In 1970, he became NASA's associate administrator, and without him, it is unlikely the organization would have ever put a man on the moon. Over the course of 20 years, von Braun received approximately 25 honorary degrees, and he accepted many other awards and medals presented to him from small cities to NASA and even the president. And I guess there's a photo somewhere, von Braun with President Kennedy. His dossier was apparently rewritten so he didn't appear an enthusiastic alleged Nazi, and he attempted to play down his real Nazi involvement by claiming in 1939, I was officially demanded to join the National Socialist Party. At this time, I was already technical director of Peenemünde. The technical work had attracted attention at higher and higher levels. Thus, my refusal to join the party would have meant that I would have to abandon the work of my life. My membership in the party did not include any political activity. However, von Braun's claim was simply untrue. For other scientists, successfully used an old rule of the Weimar Republic that is still in use, forcing anyone in the military to abstain from political affiliation. Werner von Braun's mentor, Hermann Oberth, also entered the U.S. after the war under Operation Paperclip. Born 25 June 1894 in the Transylvania town of Hermannstadt, Oberth is widely recognized as the founding father of modern rocketry, having published the paper in 1923 that was to so inspire von Braun by rocket into planetary space. This was followed by a longer version, 429 pages in 1929, that was internationally regarded as a work of tremendous scientific importance. When in his 30s, Oberth took Werner von Braun, who affectionately referred to Oberth as his teacher, on as an assistant, and they worked together at Peenemünde, developing the V-2 rocket. After entering the U.S. at the end of the war, along with the remaining 100 V-2 rockets and components, Oberth again worked with von Braun as the entire Peenemünde team was reassembled at the White Sands Proving Grounds. Oberth and von Braun continued their work, and it was a later development of the same V-2 rocket which had inflicted so much damage on Northern Europe that was eventually to propel the first American into space in the Saturn V rocket. Oberth retired 3 years after entering the U.S. and returned to Germany, where he headed the Oberth Commission for the German government in the UFO phenomenon. And then we have this document here, the War Department, Bureau of Public Relations Press Branch. Outstanding German scientists being brought to U.S. The Secretary of War has approved a project whereby certain understanding German scientists and technicians are being brought to this country to ensure that we take full advantage of those significant developments which were deemed vital to our national security. Interrogation and examination of documents, equipment, and facilities in the aggregate are but one means of exploiting German progress in science and technology. In order that this country may benefit fully from this resource, a number of carefully selected scientists and technologists are being brought to the United States on a voluntary basis. These individuals have been chosen from those fields where German progress is of significant importance to us and in which those specialists have played a dominant role. Throughout their temporary stay in the United States, these German scientists and technical experts will be under the supervision of War Department, but will be utilized for appropriate military projects of the Army and the Navy. You want to pick up and read some here?
Yeah, sure. Another scientist who brought new knowledge to America was Victor Schauberger. Although there was no evidence that Schauberger had Nazi sympathies, he was viewed by the Americans as a collaborator and put into protective custody for 6 months at the end of the war. Dr. Walter Meath and Rudolf Schreiber also entered America under Operation Paperclip. However, it is believed that their colleague, Habir Mole, fell into Russian hands. Whilst in the U.S., Meath continued his flying disc work, primarily for the U.S. Air Force, however, was subcontracted to A.V. Rowe and Company. In 1959, Jack Hughes, a freelance cameraman, was flying over this company's plant in Canada when he saw and photographed this picture on the left of a disc-shaped craft sitting on the ground. And
interesting.
Yeah, for sure. After the photo was published in the papers, speculation grew that the disc was a secret weapon and that may have accounted for many of the UFO sightings during previous years. In response to the speculation, the U.S. Air Force released the following official photograph of the craft. It's called the Avro and had first been launched in 1955. A CIA memo that year confirmed that the craft was based work undertaken by German scientists, notably Meath, during World War II. The design was later abandoned in the late 1960s, with the Air Force maintaining it was still an experimental stage when abandoned. The 1990s were to reveal the craft was part of the secret project Silverbug, a project to develop a craft that had VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing, capabilities that would dispense with the need for runways and reduce the risks of runways being targets of attack, thus immobilizing any aircraft that may rely on it. Other German scientists similarly brought their expertise and designs into the U.S. after the war. America's Aircraft Yearbook notes how many of them worked at Fort Bliss, von Braun et al. Above, and Wright Field. The first and second homes of the Roswell wreckage. Among those in the German group at Wright Field were Rudolf Hermann, Alexander Lipschitz, Heinz Schmidt, Helmut Heinrich, Fritz Doppelhoff, and Ernst Zundel. Hermann was attached to the Peenemünde Research Station for Aerodynamics, where Germany's V-2 rockets were hatched and launched against England. A specialist in supersonics, he was in charge of the supersonic wind tunnel at the Knockel in the Bavarian Alps. He was also a member of the group entrusted with Hitler's futuristic plans to establish a space station rocket fueling base revolving as a satellite above the Earth at a distance of 4,000 miles. A scheme which he had certain high-ranking AAF officers in 1947 still believed possible. That's insane. Not that
They were very forward.
insane.
They were very forward thinking, weren't they?
Yeah, I was say that it's insane that they were pursuing those endeavors at that time, and we're, hey, Space Force was launched in, what was it, 2018, 2019? Like 80 years later. Sure, whatever you say. One of the scientists, Dr. Alexander Lippisch, had designed another German craft that could be mistaken at the time for a flying disc, certainly at least when viewed from the side. Lippisch had developed a number of projects leading up to the war, having been inspired by witnessing a flight by Orville Wright in September 1909, when a boy of only the age of 14. Some gibberish on the plane there, on the craft.
Yeah. Some more of that Masonic.
Could be, yeah. Oh, that codex stuff we were going over, yeah.
Yeah.
Could be. What do they call it, a cryptex, something like that?
Yeah, I think,
November 1944, Lippisch, along with his students, had constructed the DM-1, a Delta with a 60F swept leading edges, whatever.
They're talking 60 degree.
Is that what that F is?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that makes sense, right? Yeah. Swept leading edges. The craft was later to be flown at a speed of 497 miles per hour under the power of a rocket motor, and was shipped back to the U.S. at the end of the war along with its creator. The DM-1 was to inspire the design of many U.S. Delta Wing craft, such as the F-102 and the F-104. Lippisch joined Collins Radio Company as an expert on special aeronautical problems, and in 1966, founded Lippisch Corporation. He went on to develop the X-11-3A airfoil boat before dying in 1976 at the age of 81. Another craft that looked suspiciously like a flying disc was the AS-6. This craft was built by Arthur Sack, following encouragement from Ernst Udet, Germany's air minister in 1939. Constructed at the Mitteldeutsche Motorwork Company, completed at Flugplatz Werkstatt at the Brandis Air Base in early 1944. The plane was not a success and not further developed. A similar craft to the AS-6, the V-173, was built by Chance Vaught and known as the Flying Pancake. The V-173 has the honor of being the the one occasion that the U.S. authorities actually admitted the technologies developed in Germany during the war could account for a wave of UFOs seen over America in the 1940s. The Navy released this picture of a V-173 in 1947 during the wave of UFO excitement generated by Kenneth Arnold's sighting and the headline of the saucer crash at Roswell. The Navy stated that the V-173 was the only craft in operation at the time that could in any way come close to the flying discs being sighted everywhere. Certainly, the V-173 or another development at the Chance Vought was mistaken for a UFO by a local resident, Thomas T. Smith, whilst working for the company a year before the famous Roswell incident. In 1997, Smith disclosed his story, which appeared in the Lancaster New Era newspaper in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on 12 July 1997. In the article, Smith stated he had seen a flying saucer, but not a visitor from another planet, but one that was a human-engineered experimental aircraft nestled in a Connecticut hangar. My God, what is that? The 20-year-old Smith wondered. It was standing there on these stilts. It reminded Smith of something out of Orson Welles' 1938 radio broadcast, The War of the Worlds, about a Martian invasion of Earth. Armed with the U.S. government security clearance, Smith watched, he says, as the 40-foot wide elliptical craft hovered 10 feet off the ground and flew away, driven by twin propellers. A pilot lying in a cramped cockpit guided the craft. Smith, now a retired 72-year-old executive, recalled the experience during the UFO frenzy created by the 50th anniversary of the Roswell episode this month. Does he have proof that a craft like this one he saw crash in Roswell during a test flight? No, but he says he believes that theory is more probable than visitors from outer space. At the time, Smith was a mechanical engineering graduate just out of Penn State University. He was working for Chance Vought Aircraft in Stratford, Connecticut, which was building planes for the U.S. Navy. Smith was testing the high-altitude bonding of composite material, wood sandwiched between two layers of metal. That sounds comforting. He says he was curious about what would be built with the material, and since he had security clearance, a supervisor led him into a guarded hangar. He was shown a new jet.
Stop for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Wood sandwiched between two layers of metal.
Yeah.
Now, have you looked into some of the anti-gravity designs and the use of an airspace between two pieces of metal in order to
I remember you guys talking about that. It makes a plasma in there.
Yes, and generates a
anti-gravitic field. You create your own field, and then you can push off of that, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
I wonder.
That discussion.
Okay, so I'm wondering if maybe at first they were, experimenting with wood sandwich between two layers of metal.
It could be. I mean, it'd be a much more efficient way to make something like that without having to fabricate a continuous piece of metal that actually was a dual layer back in that time.
Yeah.
But if you're trying, I don't know if they were trying to make plasma out of it or not. Maybe they were just trying to basically just test architectural.
Well, if they had developed anti-gravity and anti-gravitic craft earlier, improving on that design, that this may have been one of the advancements forward in improving on that design.
Sure, it'd be hard to conceive making a plasma and having that wood survive.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I mean,
that might have been why it probably didn't work very well.
Yeah, right.
You don't know until you try, right?
Yeah, but what it could also do, though, is allow them to potentially experiment with running currents through those two pieces of metal and have that wood function as a mild insulator, even though wood can be conductive at high enough currents.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that would create a solid enough structure where it would be worthy of flight and still function as an insulator.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's interesting. They're calling them composite materials, though. And who's to say how thick the wood was? Maybe it literally is just a thin layer. You know what I mean? Just enough to be used as a like I said, as an insulator between two pieces of metal.
Yeah, just a veneer.
Right.
All right. Well, anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So
yeah, totally. So where are we at? He says he was curious about what would be built with the material, and since he had a security clearance, the supervisor led him into a guarded hangar. He was shown a new jet the company was developing, but his attention was attracted to the other craft in the hangar, a flying saucer made of material that he had been testing. It was very streamlined, Smith recalls. Khaki-colored saucer was a few inches thick, and at the edges to about 2 feet thick at the pilot's cockpit, which had a bubble window allowing the pilot to see? No, to look forward and down at the ground. I saw him get in and he lay down flat, Smith says. The craft had 2 propellers and rudders in the back. Smith went back at night to watch the test flights. The saucer, he said, would float straight up and then fly off. They'd get it off the ground and it would disappear into the darkness, he says. He says there were reports in the area of unidentified flying objects. About the time he left Chance Vought in 1947, it moved operations to Texas, where it would have better conditions for test flights, Smith says. Thus, Chance Vought moved to a state next to New Mexico the year of the Roswell crash. Other aircraft at the time seemed equally unconventional. The 1930s and 1940s, in Germany, the Horten brothers, Walter and Remer, built a range of planes they called the Ho series. The first of this series, the Ho 1, was a simple flying winged sailplane. By the end of that decade, the brothers had developed the Ho 3, a metal-framed glider that was fitted with a folding blade propeller for flight. Then in 1944, they finished the prototype, the Ho 9, their first combat-intended design, powered by the Junker Jumo 4B turbojets. And the craft had a metal frame, a plywood exterior. It made its maiden voyage flight on 2 February 1945. And satisfied with his performance, the Air Ministry ordered 40 of the craft to be built by the Gothia Wagon Fabric under the designation the Ho 229. Sounds fantastic. When the U.S. 3rd Army Corps reached the Gothia plant on April 14th, 1945, they took over the factory and shipped back to the U.S. a near completed Ho 9 V3, and then they had a Ho down. Another similar looking craft was this airplane photographed in Germany at the end of the war. In fact, many of these German designs seemingly account for many of the reports of the unidentified flying objects seen over the U.S. after the war. Interesting.
I'm surprised we can't get better representations of these photos. That always bugs the crap out of me.
And considering how long ago this was, why isn't this stuff confirmed by this point, man? I mean, damn. So where are we at? Kenneth Arnold. Kenneth Arnold himself described what he saw as a flying disc. When Arnold actually drew a picture of what he had seen, it looked like the popularly conceived silver round discs that readily springs to mind. In fact, the diagram Kenneth Arnold actually drew of what he had seen that fateful day in 1947 looks remarkably like the German Ho 9 or other craft developed during the war. George Adamowski's UFO also has similar Nazi connection. The light-enhanced frame from an 8mm Cine film taken by George Adamski in the presence of Madeline Roedifer, and other witnesses at Silver Spring, Maryland in February 1965 looks remarkably like the drawings found for the Nazi Hunebau II during the Second World War. Notice the bubble.
Hanabu is how you pronounce that.
Hanebubu?
Hanabu.
Hanebu. During the Second World War. Notice the bubble effects under the diagram of the Nazi craft and those captured in the alleged Adamski UFO. Indeed, it obviously is the Hanebubu craft. Hanebu craft. I had to. Again, this object photographed in February 1954 by Stephen Derbyshire and his cousin Adrian Myers in the Lake District of England looks suspiciously like the German craft. Its contours and design are much like the Hanebu craft. To be a coincidence, on the bottom left-hand side can be seen one of the bubbles. This following picture was drawn following the alleged UFO touchdown near Kofu City, Yamanshi Prefecture in Japan on 23 February 1975, 30 years after cessation of hostilities in Europe. According to the artist, an occupant came out of the craft and touched a child on the shoulder, temporarily paralyzing him. Well, wouldn't you be startled if an alien touched you? Pause for effect. The idea of such flying discs should come as no surprise. After the war, there were a number of such designs in existence. This craft was developed by Lockheed Skunk Works in Palmdale, California, an unmanned aerial reconnaissance vehicle. It had saucer-shaped body with long wings and could be easily mistaken for a flying disc when seen at certain angles. An unmanned aerial disc, you say? That looks like fun.
See, we're talking about the flying V. Look at these.
Right. Yeah, man. This craft below is the prototype of a giant flying saucer designed to revolutionize air transport, designed by British firm Airship Industries. The skyship was planned to cruise about 100 miles in an hour at an altitude of 5,000 feet. That's
not very fast.
100 miles an hour at 5,000 feet. Actually, that's really not that high either. No thanks.
How much of this stuff do you think that they actually built just as a distraction? I think they actually built a lot of stuff as just a sheer distraction.
Yeah, I agree. Having said that, this notion that human manufactured craft are mistaken as alien craft, I think that's absolutely plausible.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it, I think, is just pure bullshit. Like, pure bullshit.
No, I wouldn't argue that. So let's see. Want me to read for a little bit here?
Sure.
All right. It seems likely, therefore, that many of the UFO sighting reports made after the war can be accounted for by misidentified or unrecognized German/U.S. designs that were being developed in a secrecy necessitated by, firstly, the Cold War, and secondly, by the fact that most of the technologies were the result of works undertaken by former Nazi scientists secretly and often illegally brought to the U.S. Yet this cannot account for all of the sightings, for it is inconceivable that the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI, etc., would have been in such a blind panic as described in previous chapters had the sightings simply been known terrestrial, if unconventional aircraft. Each agency may not always have been aware of all the developments at all times. But the official investigation into the UFO phenomena in the U.S. went on officially for over 20 years. It would not be unrealistic to have expected a terrestrial explanation to have been circulated within that time frame. So if unconventional but terrestrial craft cannot account for many of the sightings and the official interest, then what can? There have certainly been rumors circulating for many years that the German designs were actually man-made attempts to reproduce crashed real flying saucers. Attempts that failed because the engineers and scientists involved were unable to recreate the steering and propulsion systems of the alleged crashed craft. As bizarre as this sounds, this claim certainly better explains the number of sightings over hundreds, if not thousands of years, and the inability of the major governmental agencies to account for much of the activity in the skies after the war. And it is a claim that is backed by some major players on the world stage. One of the most impressive of those backing this claim is Colonel Philip J. Corso, retired. Corso published a book entitled The Day After Roswell. A former official reveals the U.S. government's shocking UFO cover-up, in which he makes a number of revelations. Corso's background itself is formidable. He was chief of the Army's Foreign Technology Division and was a member of President Eisenhower's National Security Council. He later went on to work for Senator Strom Thurmond after retiring from the Army in 1963. Corso was interviewed by Michael Lindman of CNI News on 5 July 1997 and asked, ML, there have been rumors and speculations that Roswell and what came from Roswell, the way we exploited Roswell technology, might not have been the very first time such a thing happened. There have been indications or speculations that the Nazis had done such a thing, that some of their extraordinary technological developments may have come from a similar source. What do you think of that? And then PC answers back, yes, true. I had German scientists on my team. I discussed this with them. I discussed this with Oberth von Braun. I was part of Project Paperclip with General Trudeau. There were crashes elsewhere, and they, the Germans, gathered material too. The Germans were working on it. They didn't solve the propulsion system. They did a lot of experiments on flying saucers. They had one that went up to 12,000 feet, but we and they missed out, was the guidance system. In R&D, we began to realize that this being a captured alien was part of the guidance system, part of the apparatus himself or itself, as it had no sexual organs. Okay, so they're saying that the alien himself, through a biotechnical connection, mind connection or whatever, was able to steer the craft in that manner, and they just didn't understand that technology. All right. In his book, Corso also describes a UFO that crashed at Roswell and noted General Twinning's observations regarding the design. The crescent-shaped craft looked so uncomfortably like the German Horten wings our flyers had seen at the end of the war that he had to suspect the Germans had bumped into something we didn't know about. And his conversations with Werner von Braun and Willy Ley at Alamogordo in the days after the crash confirmed this. They didn't want to be thought of as verrückt, but intimated that there was a deeper story about what the Germans had engineered. Certainly, this deeper story was confirmed by the father of the modern rocket, Hermann Oberth. Independently confirmed that during the war years, there was a Nazi extraterrestrial connection when he stated, "We cannot take credit for our record advancement in certain scientific fields alone. We have been helped." When asked by whom, he replied, "The peoples of other worlds." Werner von Braun was equally frank about the issue and did not doubt that extraterrestrials were visiting the Earth, nor that many of the advancements he was involved in were a result of back engineering alien technology. Excuse me. Indeed, he talked openly about the issue following an incident on 3rd June 1959 when the Discoverer 3 failed to achieve orbit, having been deflected whilst traveling. Von Braun commented, "We find ourselves faced by powers which are far stronger than we had hereto assumed, and whose base is at present unknown to us. More I cannot say at present. We are now engaged in entering into closer contact with those powers, and in 6 or 9 months it may be possible to speak with some precision on the matter." If these reports from Oberth and von Braun are to be believed, then clearly the Germans held a knowledge not previously available to Western allies. And it appears that scientists entering the U.S. after the war under the auspices of Operation Paperclip shared this knowledge with the U.S. military, who within weeks set in place one of the fastest but little-known invasions of the 20th century. The Vril, the RFZ, and the Haunebu. However, several projects was elaborated and later on built, whose characteristics were impressive. For example, in August of 1939, the RFZ-5, in its first flight to Antarctica in New Schwabenland, it reached the speed of 4.5 kilometers per hour, and not very later, 15 I guess that's 15,000 kilometers per hour. It was equipped with 2 weapons: black laser, also as the ray of death, KSK Kraft Strahl Canoen, 6 cm. Not sure what that how that. Okay. Years later, the Haunebu 2, with about 26 or 32 diameter meters, consonant the model, and among 9 and 11 of height, it reached the maximum speed close to the ground of 6,000 kilometers per hour, with an autonomy of 55 hours, meaning it could fly for about 55 hours, and with capacity to transport 20 people. The Haunebu 3, with about 70 diameter meters, it flew to 7,000 kilometers per hour, close to the ground, could reach 40,000 kilometers per hour at 24,000 altitude meters. Tens an autonomy for 8 weeks in flight, transporting 32 people. Already Vril 7, that he made its first flight on the Baltic Sea in the winter of 1944, he had about 120 diameter meters, as we will see more ahead. Several they were, the projects found by the Allies in the SS files when they occupied Berlin in 1945. There are some diagrams. It's interesting. Notice the arrows.
Right.
Opposing, both going horizontally and vertically. And some more of the stuff. Appears that this might be the black laser guns depicted there. To the beginning, the German technicians thought to apply in those flying machines conventional armaments, installing cannons of Panzer tanks. Okay, and you see the Iron Cross there. I think they called that the Iron Cross. Didn't they call that the Iron Cross?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't make out any of the stuff. It's all in German anyway. And this is all in German. Yeah, and it describes the Haunebu 1. Are these windows? I guess, passenger windows. Got to be able to see out, man. The Vril and the Andromeda. one of the most perfect machines produced by the Vril Society during World War II. It was the Vril 7, an enormous object in disc form, very similar to Haunebu 3, but with about 120 diameter meters. The first test of the Vril 7 was made on the Baltic Sea in the winter of 1944. Below image, the Haunebu 2. And again, we hear, terrible photographs. Some images of the Vril 7 and the Vril 6. Some more images. Some diversified details of the inferior area of the Vril 7. Detail of the interior, I guess, the inferior part of the RFZ5. Okay, to follow an image of part of the project of the Haunebu 3. Some more photos. Here's the Haunebu 3. To proceed, an image of part of the project Andromeda, a type of flying cigar, transporter of several types of objects. Okay. And obviously large enough to house what looks like one of the Haunebus or something of that nature. Very, very, must have been a very, very large craft, though. And this goes, and they're showing down here from the Reich's German secret SS archives. On June 1934, Victor Schauberger was invited by Hitler and other members of the Vril Society to work with them to develop a flying machine that could fly and jump the limits of solar system. At its book, The Spear of Destiny, Trevor Ravenscroft describes, with 20 years age, Hitler was already an adept of the concealed and the mysterious in trying to amount to right through drugs, higher consciousness states. In those days, that secret society Hitler created a special group designated the SS for Schwarze Sonne, Black Sun, of which left emissaries for Tibet, with some frequency, whose primordial subject was it of they know the techniques of the meditation for communication with extraterrestrial entities. This fact came to confirm when Soviet soldiers found in Berlin on April 25th, 1945, the bodies of 6 monks of Tibet in the circle contained the small contain the small parentheses, retake Victor Schauberger together with Dr. Schumann, already previously referred. They got in the ends of that year, 1934. Obviously, this is a translation from some other language because it's terrible to read. Previously referred, they got in the ends of that year, 1934, has just built a new object in disk form, the one that they designated for RFZ2, whose operation beginning was already previous identical to the tested but improved, using a propeller Vril, also known by SSM-L, that is Schumann SM Levitator, machine with 5 diameter meters. It generated an electromagnetic field that moved easily, alternating of color every time its speed oscillated. Interesting. A draw of the RFZ2. So that's a drawing of the RFZ2. from above. You can see the stilts on them. Images of the RFZ prototypes. However, this flying machine, always manned by the same person, Luther Vietz, it seemed to not be very safe because during the tests, it dropped a lot of times. And again, here's the Vril 1. And maybe, would it be even maybe, would it alter the course of manufacture of that type of flying machine? Okay, that's the end of the document. So, thoughts on that?
It's intriguing, to say the least. So many ways to go with that, man. I mean, as soon as they start disclosing, if someone were to positively confirm these things or components of these things, then it opens up to just people that study this stuff, like they're really, really into it. All it's going to do is open up a plethora of questions because it's going to immediately validate or invalidate a lot of things. So that's why I say it's intriguing, because the possibility or the wonderment of it, it's just, I guess that's why the whole UFO community thing is so popular. It's because if, that being the keyword there, right? If it's true, damn. And if it is advanced craft, then damn. Even if humans made it and we have that technology, also damn. Either way you look at it, it's gonna be remarkable. So we'll see. Hopefully they share. And I think if you put some of this stuff in the hands of the population, particularly Americans, but I mean, plenty of other countries have creative innovators. And if you to put this stuff in make it garage worthy, like people go out and tinker on motorcycles and hot rods and classic cars and all that, man, you put this stuff in garages, who knows where we're going to be in 20 years. Mm-hmm. But we'll be getting there, launching from our garages.
Be interesting, huh?
Yeah.
I have a 3-minute video here that is supposedly video of one of these German craft, or more than one of them, I don't know, actually in flight. I think I've seen this before, but let's take a quick peek here. Okay, frame it up here. And let's take a look.
It's UFO Man. Here is some footage of a Haunebu 1 German flying disc in 1939 over West Berlin. Check it out. If you watch really close, you can see the 3 spherical balls beneath the craft moving. Here are some stills to follow up on the video footage. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please tap that like button and subscribe. And remember to hit your notification bell so you'll receive an alert in your email when I come out with new videos. And as always, stay open-minded and keep looking up.
Okay, well, again, they're developing all kinds. I mean, we have got motion picture film done back in during World War II and back then. The art of motion picture was much more refined. So what in the hell with the crappy photos?
It's gotta be. It's gotta be on purpose.
It just, you know, it really ticks me off that we don't have better resolution pictures and videos than the garbage that you know we see, you know, displayed here on YouTube when it comes to this kind of stuff, you know. And then when you get something clear, you find out it's all CGI. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you for a few minutes. I got to step away for a few moments, and I'll kick it to you, and you know, have fun.
Oh, okay.
I hope you're ready. No.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, I'll be back in just a few.
Cool. Let's see. Let's see what we have. There was something here. Yeah, this one looked good from Danusha. Boy, I'm glad you're sending me this stuff, Danusha, because I'm on a different computer and all of my stuff is on another computer. So I am happy about that. Where are we at? All right, so this one is Saturn V rocket, and this stood out to me because why aren't you letting me share? Whatever, I'll just share the screen. This one. Okay, so I built one of these as a model. I didn't build a real thing, right? So I built a model of this in 4th grade, and it was a pretty cool experience. So let's see what this says. September 17, 2010. Saturn V was a rocket NASA built to send people to the moon. The V in the name, the 5 in the name, stands for Roman numeral 5. The Saturn V was a type of rocket called a heavy lift vehicle. So this is likened to the SpaceX heavy lifters, and China has heavy lifters, the Dragon series, I think. And Amazon or Bezos has heavy lifters as well. They're the Blue Origin or Blue something or other. Don't hear much about his stuff. So basically what it means is very powerful, and it was the most powerful rocket that had ever flown successfully. The Saturn V was used in the Apollo program in the 1960s and 70s. It was also used to launch the Skylab space station. How big was the Saturn V? The Saturn V rocket was 111 meters, it's 363 feet tall, about the height of a 36-story tall building, and 18 meters or 60 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty. Fully fueled for liftoff, the Saturn V weighed 2.8 million kilograms, or about 6.2 million pounds, the weight of about 400 elephants. The rocket generated 34.5 million newtons, 7.6 million pounds of thrust at launch, creating more power than 85 Hoover dams. Wow. A car that gets 48 kilometers to the gallon could drive around the world 800 times with the amount of fuel the Saturn V used for a lunar landing mission. Wow. It could launch about 118 kilograms or 130 tons into Earth orbit. That's about as much weight as 10 school buses. The Saturn V could launch about 43,500 kilograms or 50 tons to the moon. That's about the same as 4 school buses. What is the history of the Saturn V? The Saturn V was developed at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. It was one of 3 types of Saturn rockets NASA built. 2 smaller rockets, the Saturn I and the 1B, were used to launch humans into Earth orbit. The Saturn V then sent them beyond Earth orbit to the moon. The first Saturn V was launched in 1967. It was called the Apollo 4. Apollo 6 followed in 1968. Both of these rockets were launched without crews. These launches tested the Saturn V rocket. Sure. Does anyone believe that they were just for testing the heavy booster rockets? Anyway, the Saturn V launched with a crew was Apollo 8. On this mission, astronauts orbited the moon but did not land. On Apollo 9, the crew tested the Apollo moon lander by flying it in Earth orbit without landing. On Apollo 10, the Saturn V launched the lunar lander to the moon. The crew tested the lander in space, but did not land it on the moon. In 1969, Apollo 11 was the first mission to land astronauts on the moon. Saturn V rockets also made it possible for astronauts to land on the moon on Apollo 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17. On Apollo 13, the Saturn V lifted the crew into space, but a problem prevented them from being able to land on the moon. That problem was not with the Saturn V, but with the Apollo spacecraft. The last Saturn V was launched in 1973 without a crew. It was used to launch the Skylab space station into Earth orbit. How did the Saturn V work? The Saturn V that launched the Skylab space station only had 2 stages. The Saturn V rockets used for the Apollo missions had 3 stages. Each stage would burn its engines until it was out of fuel and would separate from the rocket. The engines on the next stage would fire and the rocket would continue into space. The first stage had the most powerful engines since it had the challenging task of lifting the fully fueled rocket off the ground. The first stage lifted the rocket to an altitude of about 68 kilometers. The second stage carried it from there almost into orbit. The third stage placed the Apollo spacecraft into Earth orbit and pushed it towards the moon. The first 2 stages fell into the ocean after separation. The third stage either stayed in space or hit the moon. Words to know if you're out there listening: thrust, the forward or upward force produced by the engines of a plane or a rocket, and stage, section of a rocket containing a rocket engine or cluster of rocket engines. The stage usually separate from each other when the fuel is used. All right. What else do we have? I'm going to pause share real quick and see what else we got going on. What is in the kitty? Still looking. Let's see what this one is, since we're on this space kick tonight. Come on. There we go. All right, so we've got Kennedy and von Braun. Oh, it's a picture of Kennedy and von Braun. Nice. 1963, Dr. Werner von Braun explains the Saturn V, Saturn V, launch system to President John F. Kennedy. Makes you really wonder, man. Why are they off that dude? Just makes you wonder. He was president during a very transformative time. What else do we have here? Let me pause share again and see what else we got. I know what we can do. We're going to transition, I think. Let me see if I can find something in the Twitter sphere that is of interest for the last, what do we got, 12 minutes? -2 for the countdown. I'm looking here. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. We're going to watch this real quick. Let me, let's resume, share. Blow this up, and we're going to start this over.
What you watching? Is there audio that goes with this?
Oh man. Did I? Hang on.
By the way, I have a Sky report to give.
Oh, you do? Let me drop this. You can give the report. We'll come back and watch this. That's so lame that the box didn't check. The mouse pad on this computer that I never use, the mouse pad is different than the one I'm used to. So I'm expecting things to click that they don't click. So sorry.
Okay. I just went out and did a little checking of star positions. The Big Dipper, when we started our show, I could not see it from the front of my house. I had to go out on my back deck and look to the left of a tree that is just north on the north side of my yard. And I couldn't see all of the Big Dipper. All right. And the handle of the Big Dipper was, I would say pointing out at about the 10 o'clock position. Okay. With the dipper to the right of it. Okay. So Now I cannot see the Big Dipper from my back deck. I had to walk out into the front of my house, into the middle of the street, and look directly, well, it should be directly north. I didn't take my compass with me but basically the street runs north-south. And the Big Dipper is on the northern horizon, directly north from the front, standing in the middle of the street in front of my house. Okay. That's in what, 2.5 hours? Mm-hmm. It has moved that much. And the handle of the Big Dipper is now at about the 8 o'clock position. So the handle has rotated down from 10 o'clock to about 8 o'clock, and has shifted from almost, I would say maybe about 22 degrees to the east.
Seems rather aggressive.
Yeah, it definitely does. Now, there's another star that I've been watching, or planet. I don't know what the heck it is. Some people say it's Jupiter, or one of the big stars, or big planets in the solar system. It's been very, very bright lately. Again, prior to the show, I was viewing it from my back deck, directly south, low on the horizon. Again, I could not see it from my back deck. I had to walk out into the front of the house to in the middle of the street, and turning around, and now it is, I'd say, at about, I would say maybe 50 degrees above the horizon, and slightly southeast, as viewing it from my from the street in front of my house. So it has moved again. It has moved from only being visible from my back deck, low on the horizon, kind of southwest, and now it is moved appreciably to, I'd say about a 50-degree angle up, and southeast.
And it normally doesn't move that much?
You know what? When I walk the dogs in the morning, that bright light is typically almost straight due east and low on the horizon, and then and then it starts moving directly, more or less coming overhead from due east and moving west. And then the sun gets bright enough. It's the last. It's brighter. It's the only star or only light in the sky other than the well, you can't see any other stars, and it shows up brilliantly well after dawn starts to break. You can almost see it in when the sky is completely blue. You know how when dawn starts to break, it's kind of a whitish color, yeah. and then as the sun rises, it becomes more and more blue. And again, this is just weird the way these things move, and now the Big Dipper the handle has moved probably about 15 degrees. It's tilted down from, like I said, from about the 10 o'clock position, 10 or 11 o'clock position prior to the show starting. Now is at about the 8 o'clock position, and has moved from being viewable north-northwest to now straight north in 2.5 hours. That's freaking weird, man. I don't know. I'm not an astrologer or astronomer or anything like that, but that just seems really weird.
Yeah, I don't study the stars enough to know. Sounds aggressive, but who's to say? All you'd have to go off of is whatever observations you've made in the last however many weeks, months.
Well, I get up very early in the morning and walk my dogs, and I always look up for the Big Dipper. I always kind of pay attention to. I always look at the stars. I've done it all the time, and you look up at them and you wonder what the heck is out there and what's there, and it's just you used to be able to consistently say, well, where is it, and look up at a particular part of the sky and see it, but and they would always be like the Big Dipper, always in relatively same condition, same situation, only it would the handle would rotate, but to rotate that much in 2.5 hours, that just is bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Rooster's got a new thing. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us again tonight. Thank you, TMC, for riding along with us tonight. Appreciate it. As the co-pilot of this expedition. And want to say thank you to everyone out there who has joined us tonight. Again, I'm recording tonight's show, and so I will endeavor to get it uploaded as soon as possible for everyone to go over to my YouTube channel. That's Smoke Clear, and you can view it there and share it out with your friends. Rooster has a new thing. Yeah, he has a new icon, or I don't know, what do you want to call that picture on his Zoom page there, his Zoom image. Anyway, he's got looks like a badass rooster tractor trailer rig. Pretty awesome looking. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Would all passengers please report to the TR-3B? Appreciate you joining us here tonight. Make sure you bring all your belongings with you, and once you get into the craft, you may store them either under your seat or in the overhead compartment. And please, if you have any cheese sandwiches or anything that if it's left alone for a day or so becomes rank, take it with you, please.